Hi, Noel.
Good morning.
Good morning. You and I were chatting before we started recording about how small groups affected you, and I wanted you to share that story again with how you had watched something that your son went through. So, and then tell us a little bit about what small groups you're into.
Yeah, well, I go to the men's small group here at the church. I joined both of them, the Monday night group and the Tuesday night group of men. And then me and Debbie go and do the digging deeper, the 1 year Bible on Thursday afternoon, Thursday 11 o'clock service. Well, my son, the church they are at downstate in Grand Rapids, they kind of had a small group, and they had like 8 families that were tied up into it. So each family took a turn kind of hosting it at their house. They would have all the kids, so nobody had to find babysitters. They brought all the children, and they either put a movie on or tape on or whatever. They'd host not a elaborate dinner, but either food or snacks or whatever the wife or man wanted to do. Then they would host, and whatever part of the Bible they're studying, they would talk about it and try to discuss. And if they really ran into some questions that were hard to kind of figure out between the group, they took it to the pastor and presented it to him and got a deeper and a bigger idea to see it. And here in the church here, we got such a separation. What I mean a separation is, I understand the young families have to work and they're tied up. It's hard for them to come. So we got more like an older men's group, you know. And when I say older, I consider men that are older than me, even though I'm retired. But anybody super young, we don't have a lot of people in that age group, you know. And the thing I find so much is, I find that men are scared. We can talk about anything and everything under the sun. It's really amazing how we do that. But to truly say how God influences our life in that, sometimes we have a very hard time expressing that. And I don't know if we all just think we got to have something special, that we got to have something this way, but I think if we just truly say our testimony, what God is really doing in your life yourself, how He affects you. Because me and you, we can read the same verse and God will speak to you one way and speak to me another way, and we're both going to hear this message that He's given, but we take it in a different way. So I find in seeing all these different men and finding these different views and how they perceive the Word of God is very educational to me. It shows me God working in so many different ways, no more than Him being out in the whole community, working with everybody in so many different ways. You know, you see it right there with the men, you know.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Do you find that it's easier to speak about how God affects your life within those groups that you just talked about?
Yeah, in some situations, I think so. I think after being with a group for a little while, you seem to open up. You don't be afraid to speak about certain things, whether it's personal, touching, or heart, personal or hard things that you're going through. Knowing that someone else maybe been through that or going through that themselves maybe at the same time, or nobody has the right answer all the time. If we're looking for answers, that's in the Bible. We just got to trust Christ, you know.
Sure.
But to help each other and I guess knowing that someone else is comforting you and has maybe been down that road in some form of it is pretty comforting to me, you know, to know that you're not alone, that they know somewhat, whether they have answers or that's the solution to the problem, you know. And I think God then helps us because there's people that are skilled in so many different fields that they can offer their talent, their skills to these people to help them, you know, or lead them to the place to get help, to show them where to go, you know.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about, you had mentioned that you were surprised about something when someone asked you to be a leader.
Well, yeah, kind of, you know. Me and Debbie was working because she kept saying that she felt God was calling her. She was DRE at the Catholic Church for quite a few years. We come here now to the Methodist Church to be fed different or fed more deeper. She keeps saying that God's calling her for something. She would talk to Pastor Dan, and he gave her different ideas. Now Pastor Paul's working with her on different things to help feed her, you know. And I said, well, you got to keep your mind straight. If God is really talking, it's going to work out. Whether we believe it or not, or the way we want it to work out, it's going to work out because He's going to make it work His way. So if you're trying to control it, well, then you'll fight it.
Yeah.
You won't be open. You won't feel comfortable. You won't be satisfied, And so by going there and doing that, so when they asked us to be a small group leader, me and Debbie talked about it and said, well, maybe that's God speaking. Maybe it's time. I'm not no expert. I'm not no theologist or anything like this. I read the Bible just like anybody else. There's so many Bibles out there. So I was born and raised on the King James Bible, being Lutheran, and then going into the Catholic Church, reading the Catholic Bible, and Debbie believes in the Living Bible. We read them quite a bit. So there's so many Bibles you can get so much foundation from. It's just, what are you looking for? What is God's really true word? Is it leading you truly to Christ, or is it leading you this other way? And it's easy to see. The more you dig, the more you feel and you understand where it's coming from and what is really true and what ain't true.
So one last question. Would you recommend others to join a small group?
I think it's beneficial.
Yeah.
If you got the time. I think some people think that because you volunteered to go to this group, you have to be there all the time. Well, we all know we're busy. We all know we got to work. We all know that a lot of the young folks have to work, and now it takes two parents to survive and keep the family going. I can't imagine what they pay for childcare. I know what it was when we had our children. So I think if you can get in an environment where they can come and maybe bring the children, yeah, kids are noisy a little bit at times, but that's God's younger generation. That's what's coming with us. But you can always work things out to a certain point, I think. You just don't have to have a special place and cost you money to go put them away. It's where you want to put your mind and what you want to think about, and what you want to do,
Yeah.
And I guess even with the kids running around talking as adults, you still can carry a conversation on and still talk and share the Word of God, It don't hurt the kids to take 10, 15 minutes if you're going to read a certain Bible verse everybody's kind of going to talk and focus their mind on. Take a few minutes to be quiet, no more than prayer, And sit down and do it. Read it and go through it and then start your discussions,
Yeah. Well, that's great. We really appreciate your time, Noel. I think you've given us some great insights to your experience in the small groups that are out there. So thank you very much.
And thank you.
Okay.